Have you ever been cursed before? Well, probably not, considering you are watching this video. Although I think I deserve to be cursed for starting off this video with such a rudimentary, unoriginal, uninspired hook. Bear with me, as I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to start this video, as the topic of curses isn't necessarily one that comes up in a typical conversation with any of my friends. My horrible introduction aside, let's talk curses. Curses are, for all intensive purposes, a bad omen placed on a symbol, an object, a person, or a place that usually brings negative misfortune on said symbol, object, person, or place. Curses can even be extended to people who even become associated with a cursed symbol, object, person, or place, essentially acting as a token of bad luck. For example, if I cursed this Power Ranger toy through some dark ritual, and you came into contact with it, the bad omen would then follow you until you got rid of the toy. This kind of scenario sounds like the work of fiction, but it honestly is all too real, and it happens a lot more frequently than you'd expect it to. The following are some examples of actual curses to demonstrate that point. Phone number 088-888-8888. In Bulgaria, this number is said to be cursed after every single person who owned it died. Due to the deaths, the company issuing the phone suspended it, and it is no longer in use. The very first owner of the phone number was one Vladimir Grashnov, the CEO of the same mobile company that issued the number. He died of cancer in 2001 at the age of 48. The number was then passed down to Bulgarian mafia boss Konstantin Dimitrov. His death was a bit more brutal. In 2003, he was gunned down while on a date with a model by a lone assassin. However, the bizarre coincidences and deaths did not stop there. After Dimitrov died, the number was passed down to a corrupt businessman, Konstantin Dishliev. He, like Dimitrov, was also gunned down, this time in an Indian restaurant in Bulgaria's capital, Sofia, in 2005. Since then, the phone bosses suspended the number in an effort to stop any further deaths. On an added note, the company Mobitel, the distributor of the phone number, refused to comment on the deaths. A spokesperson of the company was even cited in saying, "We have no comment to make, we don't discuss individual numbers." So as of today, the number is no longer active, although there are some persistent rumors going around that claim you can call the cursed number, and sometimes you may even get a response. The Diebuck Box. The Diebuck Box was a wine cabinet that was auctioned on eBay in 2001 to one Kevin Manis. It seemed like an odd collector's item, and looked to have the potential to be a great conversation piece, so Manis spent no haste in buying the antique. However, when he first acquired the box, he did not expect it to be lugging a curse with it. When Manis first came into possession of the box, he, and everyone around him, started having terrible nightmares, often being dreams of them dying. Manis soon began to feel uneasy whenever he stood near the cursed box. Unable to stand the box's dark presence any longer, he gave it to his mother as a gift. Unfortunately, his mother suffered a stroke the very same day she received it. Since then, the box has been auctioned off, or simply given away multiple times, each owner claiming to have terrible dreams and reported that terrible things happened to them, while in possession of the box, of course. One of the newer owners to have the box was Jason Haxton, who after only 1 year with the box, decided to give it away after developing a skin disease, among other medical conditions. As of today, the box now resides with Zach Baggins, the Ghost Adventure star. Oetzi the Iceman. Oetzi the Iceman was a preserved body of a man found in the Alps between Austria and Italy in 1993. In the 13 years that came after his discovery, a total of 7 people that were associated with his discovery had died. The first death that came as a result of unearthing this cursed body was that of Rainer Henn, the forensic pathologist who put Oetzi in a body bag in 1992. Strangely enough, he was killed in a car crash on his way to a conference to discuss the Iceman. On impact, he was launched out of the car and collided with a tree. The force of the impact cracked his neck and he died on the spot. The next to go was Kurt Fritz, the guide who led Henn to find the Iceman. One day during his yearly trek up the mountains, he died from a cascading avalanche. The next to meet a terrible end was the man who filmed the discovery of Oetzi. He died of a brain tumor, this one being particularly strange because it is reported that he was in great condition, at least he was health-wise. The next was Helmut Simon, who initially discovered the body. In 2004, he went missing for 8 days, and was found lying face down in a stream near a local hiking trail. Even stranger yet, the head of the rescue team that found Oetzi, Dieter Warnack, died of a heart attack, only an hour after Helmut's funeral. The head of the Iceman investigation, Konrad Spindler, was the next to pass. He didn't believe in the curse, and in an ironic twist of fate, after being quoted in saying, "I think it's a load of rubbish. It is all the media hype. The next thing you will be saying is, I will be next." He died after some complications resulting from having multiple sclerosis. The last death, as of now that is, was Tom Loy, who died in 2005. In all honesty, his death was the strangest of the seven, at least it was in my opinion. After discovering the blood on Owetzi's clothes and weapons, he died of a blood disease. People seem to think that even the mere mentioning of Owetzi even brings bad luck and misfortune. Some people claim that the moment they heard of the curse and decided to do research themselves, their life went downhill. Misfortune came upon them, and they had some close family members die. However, these stories have yet to be proven true. The Curse of Thomas Busby's Chair. Thomas Busby was quite the man with a temper, as to be expected from almost anyone who drinks 6 to 10 beers on the daily. He would often take his drinks at his favorite bar and in his favorite chair. It's at the bar that his temper would really be shown. He wasn't the kind of guy to pass off an offer to get into a fight with someone else, and it's his anger that essentially cost him his life in the summer of 1702. Busby's father-in-law, Daniel Awity, once sat in his chair without his permission. When Busby found Awity there without his acknowledgement, the two quickly broke out into a fight. Ultimately, it ended with Awity threatening to move away and take Busby's wife with him. The two went their ways, but the petty feud would not end there. Later that night, Busby snuck into Awity's home and killed him. He then took the body and hid it near some local woods. To Busby's surprise, it didn't take long for the police to track the body and pin the blame on Busby. He was ultimately taken into custody, and then in a relatively short trial was sentenced to death by hanging. When given his final request, all he wished for was to get one last drink in his favorite chair, where he promptly uttered his presumable curse: "Death shall come swiftly to anyone that dares sit in my chair," minutes before he was led off to the execution. From then on, the curse had taken the lives of multiple people, the first being an unnamed chimney sweep, who had to use the chair in order to get his job done. After he took his break, he resumed his work, and only moments after he began again, he fell off the roof, breaking his neck as he fell, dying on impact. But the curse did not stop there. During a time of war, many soldiers sat on the chair, and all those that did never came back from the battle. Soon after, a bricklayer who was contracted to work in the pub decided to take a break and sat on the chair. That afternoon, while working on the pub, he slipped and fell to his death, but sadly, the curse didn't end there either. A roofer who sat on the chair died from falling off the roof. A cleaning woman who stumbled upon the chair and decided to take a break on it later died of an aneurysm. And a delivery man who accidentally tripped on the chair died only an hour later of his encounter in a car crash. The landlord, deciding he had enough of people dying, decided to call a local museum, the Thirsk Museum, to ask if they could take the chair. They agreed, and that's where it now resides. Jonny Garrett's Curse. Jonny Garrett was a mentally handicapped man with a history of violence, who on one unfaithful day was arrested for the rape and murder of an 83-year-old nun in Houston, Texas. From the beginning, he pled innocent, and there was tons of evidence pointing to that fact. But he was quickly pressured into signing a confession to indict him as the perpetrator of the crime. After 9 years in court, he was finally sentenced to death. But before he died, he sent a letter to the media that had the names of countless people: lawyers, jurors, news reporters, or anyone with affiliation to the case, and he cursed them. In the coming months after his execution, it would be discovered that he was in fact innocent, and the real murderer was a Cuban refugee. However, this new light into the case didn't stop the oncoming curse that ensued with Garrett's death. The first victim of the curse was the coroner who faked evidence to get Garrett sent to jail. He was incarcerated for obstruction of justice, and while in prison, his wife died of pancreatic cancer. That year, Garrett's attorney, the one who pressured him into signing the confession, also died of pancreatic cancer. The next death that followed was that of an NBC reporter who harassed Garrett's mother. She died in a plane crash. Then 4 people involved with the case, the judge, a prosecutor, and 2 officers, were all diagnosed with the same form of leukemia. One of the jurors, Novella Sumner, died after falling down some stairs. Another juror's daughters both died in a freak accident. One died in a gun mishap, and she accidentally shot herself in the head, and the other was a victim of a hit and run. A witness who testified against Garrett committed suicide. Garrett's teacher who testified against him also committed suicide. A district attorney, Danny Hill, working on the case, also committed suicide, and Hill's youngest daughter, clinically depressed after her father's death, also committed suicide. There are tons of more curses and cursed objects out there, but unfortunately, I have a schedule to keep. Who knows, maybe I'll do a part 2, should I find more interesting curses. Anyway, should you come into contact with any of these curses, best of luck to you. I know you'll need it. Well, with that out of the way, let me leave you with this little factoid. Did you know, it is surprisingly easy to put a curse on someone. I am not saying you should, but in case you are interested, there are thousands of websites out there dedicated to curses. One example being calastrology.com.